Hello there, this is eTalks, where we value your professional growth, and we are back with another video. This time, I will share to you how to extract a free assessment hazard report using Hazard Hunter PH. In our previous video, it has been discussed what Hazard Hunter is and how to use its different functions and interface. If you are not able to watch it, I suggest that you watch it first in order to gain a deeper understanding of this current content. Check out the description box below for the link. In this video, I will tackle how to extract a free assessment hazard report that can be used whether you are in the construction industry, or you need a report for work or educational purposes, or you just plan to acquire property or start a new business venture in a specific place. But before we proceed, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell button to be updated of our latest post. Without further ado, let's now start. Open your browser and search for Hazard Hunter. Click this link and you will be redirected to their page. Then click the map view. Then you will arrive to their interface. To validate the location of the project, open Google and type the location. Please take note that this sample project location is for educational purposes only. After that, click the location, open Maps, and open the satellite view. If the street location is hard to locate, go first to the barangay. To find the street, use Street View of the Google Map. Then, we have to familiarize the location to be able to locate it in Hazard Hunter. Then we could search for the location of the street. After finding it in the Google Map, you can now go back to Hazard Hunter. Then type the street in Hazard Hunter . And to make sure that the location is the location of the site, you can confirm it using the Google Maps. Then in Hazard Hunter, pinpoint the exact location of the street. And after finding the location of the project, double-click it. Then the hazard assessment will be calculated. After that, click See Result. In the right portion, you will find the assessment information. You can find Seismic Hazard Assessment, Volcanic Hazard Assessment, and Hydrometeorological Hazard Assessment. If you do not know the exact location of the project or place and you know the coordinates, you can enter it on this part found at the left side of the screen. Input the coordinates, then click Search. You can also open the base maps available in this current location, found under the display options on the left side of the screen. You can also check out the ESRI maps. ESRI base maps and data group focuses on providing general purpose base maps and reference layers such as imagery, streets, topography, and boundaries, as well as useful thematic layers such as demographics, which can support a wide variety of applications of political map. The different functions of maps are very useful if you plan on buying lands in specific places. Under the maze maps, we could find the different types of hazards. If you want to check other hazards, just click the checkbox and Hazard Hunter will generate these assessments for you. Very helpful, right? More information on active faults can be found on the right side of the screen. We can also take a screenshot to incorporate this in the report. Fissures. It is a long, narrow opening or line of breakage made by cracking or splitting, especially in rock or earth. This is the part where the rock or earth will crack. In this site, since it is away from the fault line, there are no evident fissures. Earthquakes-induced landslides. Earthquakes often trigger landslides, causing significant and even catastrophic damage to houses and other structures. If your structure is in the path of an earthquake-induced landslide, it is at risk for damage from landslide debris as well as sliding down itself. In this project location, no data are still available because data are still being updated. Liquefaction takes place when loosely packed, waterlogged sediments at or near the ground surface lose their strength in response to strong ground shaking. Liquefaction occurring beneath buildings and other structures can cause major damage during earthquakes. Volcanic Hazards Assessment. Under Volcanic Hazard Assessment, we could check if there are active volcanoes near the area, potentially active volcanoes, inactive volcanoes, volcanic tsunami, lahar, lava flow, and ballistic projectile. If you want to check if there are active volcanoes, potentially active volcanoes, or inactive volcanoes near the area, you could just check the checkbox behind the words. Suppose you are planning to buy a property and you want a flood-free area. Click the flood and refer to the legend on the right side to know more. You can also check out the rain-induced landslide option so that you can avoid these areas that are prone to landslide during rain. Again, just refer to the legend for more information. If you wish to check the accessibility of the area to government establishments, schools, and hospitals, you could also do so. This information is also helpful to know the road networks, safe open spaces, evacuation areas, and hospitals in case of emergencies. If you also plan to put up a business, this information will also be beneficial in making feasibility studies. You could also check for the different boundaries in the area, such as regional, provincial, municipal, and barangay boundaries. So given all this information, how can you generate free assessment hazard? On the right area of the screen, you can also check the assessment results. Under the seismic assessment, you can find the information such as active faults, fissures, earthquake-induced landslides, liquefaction, and tsunami. Next information is regarding volcanic hazard assessment, wherein you can find information on volcanoes, volcanic tsunamis, lahars, lava flow, and ballistic projectile. Also below volcanic hazards, you can find information on meteorological hazards. These hazards are weather-related events such as floods, droughts, landslides, tides, sea level rise, wind, snow, frost, extreme temperature, hail, lightning, and fire. So given all this information, How can you generate free assessment hazard? Just click the green button, View Report with Recommendations. Then it will generate a PDF report. This report can be downloaded. Take note that information in Hazard Hunter are free to use, provided that you are to abide to the terms and conditions of the site. Make sure also to check the site's terms and conditions before using Hazard Hunter. Here are some frequently asked questions for your information. These can also be found on hazardhunter.georisk.gov.ph/facts. Can government files available in the Hazard Hunter PH application be downloaded? Currently, users may print the hazard assessment report and the map produced or take a screenshot of the interface. Government vector files, depending on agreement with the data owner, may soon be available after launching the Map and Feature Services portal. In the meantime, users are advised to request directly from the government agencies for vector files or other data formats. Can the documents produced be used for legal purposes? It is envisioned that institutions requiring hazards assessment will use the Hazard Hunter PH to verify or perform the assessment themselves. Currently, documents generated by the Hazard Hunter PH application may be used as reference. To request for official documents, request this form from concerned government agency. Are these the only hazards that will be available? As the government established more partnerships, more data can be accommodated, not only hazards but also exposure data, base maps, vulnerability, capacity, and risk information that are useful for hazards and risk assessment. Users have to pay for the hazard assessment reports generated by the application? No, all reports generated by the application are free. The report generated by Hazard Hunter is in PDF format. It contains information such as the date the report was generated, the location, the barcode that can be scanned to view location, and the hazard assessments that were generated. First is the Seismic Hazard Assessment. Ground Rupture. Ground rupture is a visible offset of the ground surface when an earthquake rupture along a fault affects the Earth's surface. It is a major risk to any structure that is built across a fault zone that may be active, in addition to any risk from ground shaking. For this specific site, it is safe from ground rupture because approximately the site is 92.4 kilometers away from the Zamboanga fault system. This site is prone to ground shaking. Ground shaking is both a hazard created by earthquakes and the trigger for other hazards such as liquefaction and landslides. Ground shaking describes the vibration of the ground during an earthquake. Liquefaction. Liquefaction describes the way in which soil liquefies during ground shaking. Liquefaction can undermine the foundations and supports of buildings, bridges, pipelines, and roads, causing them to sink into the ground, collapse, or dissolve. For this site, it is safe from liquefaction. Earthquake-induced landslides. Earthquakes can trigger landslides, especially in areas with water-saturated soils. Landslides may result in falling rocks and debris that collide with people, buildings, and vehicles. They can also block roads and disrupt utility lines. In this specific site, data are still being updated. Tsunami. Likewise, data is being updated. A tsunami is a series of sea waves commonly generated by under-the-sea earthquakes and whose heights could be greater than 5 meters. Next hazard is a volcanic hazards assessment. For this specific site, the nearest active volcano is 150 kilometers away from the site. An active volcano is a volcano that has at least one eruption during the past 1,000 years. An active volcano might be erupting or dormant. Accounts of these eruptions were documented by man within the last 10,000 years based on the analysis of material from volcanic deposits. Next hazard assessment is the hydrometeorological hazards assessment. Flood is an overflowing of water onto the land that is normally dry. Floods can happen during heavy rains, when ocean waves come on shore, or when dams break. Damaging flooding may happen with only a few inches of water, or it may cover a house to the rooftop. Another hazard is the rain-induced landslide. Majority of rainfall-induced landslides are shallow, which is less than a few meters deep, small, and move rapidly. Many rainfall-induced landslides transform into debris flows as they travel down steep slopes. For this specific site, both the flood and rain-induced landslides, their assessments are they are most likely suitable for development and needs further validation. Next is the hydrometeorological hazards assessment. Storm surge is a abnormal rise in water level during a storm, measured as the height of the water above the normal predicated astronomical tide. The surge is caused primarily by storm's winds pushing water onshore. For this specific site, the data are still being updated for storm surge. And lastly, severe wind. Severe wind is a general description of high wind conditions that occur during severe thunderstorms, cyclones in tropical areas, and extensive deep low pressure systems and tornadoes. For this specific site, the severe wind is 88.1 to 117 kph, which is likely to happen once for every 20 years, and 88.1 to 117 kph, which is likely to happen once for every 500 years. Take note that all hazard assessments are based on the available susceptibility maps and the coordinates of the user's selected location. The generated hazard assessment report also features the nearest critical facilities in the area. It enumerates the critical facility name, what type it is. It could be a public elementary high school, public secondary high school, government health facility, private health facility, primary road network or secondary road network, and of course, its distance from the specified location. You also have to take note that all the hazard assessments are based on the available susceptibility maps and the coordinates of the selected location, and all computations are based on the available exposure data and the coordinates of the user's selected location. The report can be downloaded, saved, and printed to be used as reference. Hazard Hunter is currently being further developed to bring more useful information to the general public. So there you have it. I hope that the contents have been informational to you. If you find this video useful, please click the like button below. You can also comment down the topics that you want to be discussed in our next video. And also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell button to be updated of our latest post. Once again, this is eTalks, where we value your professional growth. See you in our next video. Bye!